Hey everybody, Jazzmyn Banks back again talking about the show Push Girls. So, I am really happy to report that this latest episode was really good, really raw. It helps someone who's able-bodied to live vicariously through the disabled person so they get an idea of what life is actually like with a disability. I'm not saying that the other episodes didn't show any of this, but the other episodes were more dedicated to the backstory several times over as to why each of these women ended up in a wheelchair. It mentioned here and there some of the challenges, but it focused more on who they are as people, what are their interests, who are their family, who are their friends, things like that. That's very normal to do in any show, to set up who the character is so that you'll become invested in them and want to go on the journey with them. And then you get to the good stuff. But the good news also, aside from that they finally got to a place where I was feeling it as an audience member, what it was like to be disabled if I was able-bodied, but also these are not characters. And by that I mean, in the beginning, as much as it said it was going to be a docu-series, I had a few concerns, because how many times have you heard that something is a true story, and then it turns out, no, that, this is a fictionalized movie, those aliens weren't real, stuff like that. This is not reality TV, being that reality TV, yes, they are real people, but it's a fictionalized version of that person. You have producers coming in and out, modifying their story, manipulating them, setting up situations for them to be in and places for them to go. In a docu-series, it's real people, there's a camera crew, it follows them wherever they go, and then they edit it afterwards and find the story that just naturally develops. They don't make a story. So I'm glad that this is, about people and not characters. This was very important for me because I feel, especially a groundbreaking show like this, that's going to show people in wheelchairs like it never has before, that if it was a faked show, fictionalized, well then the audience isn't going to believe it either. They're not going to believe that it is that difficult to be in a wheelchair, to be disabled, all the ignorance that you're surrounded with. Why would they believe that if it's not a docu-series? So the only part of it that gets me a little bit concerned with any docu-series, with any documentary, is, there's only so real it can be when there's a camera crew. The people that come in and out of their lives, why are they there? When did they know that this person is in a show? When did they know that they were going to be on camera? Did this affect what involvement they wanted to have and how they were going to portray themselves? And a good example I felt in tonight's episode was one of the girls, Tiffany, decides to reconnect with a guy she dated a few years back who was a jerk. I mean, he led her on to think that they were going to have an exclusive relationship, this was going to go somewhere, and she said, because I don't want to just sleep with you to sleep with you, I want to, sleep with you because it's going somewhere. So this happens, and then she finds out afterwards that, no, he's cheating left, right, and center, and he's actually not a settled-down guy, he's a player. So now they reconnect, and they start to discuss what happened back then. And it was interesting how his story was vastly different than hers. Oh, well, no, he always told her from moment one that he was not the settled-down type. No, he never said that. He never said that he was looking for her to be his soulmate, and blah, blah, blah. It was very clear to me that there was a camera crew and he did not want to look like the jerk that had sex with the girl in the wheelchair, lied and cheated, and just took advantage of her. He did not want to look that way. Fortunately, she did kick him to the curb. I don't know if she saw what I saw. I don't know if she just thought, he's a lying jerk, move on. He remembers it differently than I do, and he's self-deluding. No, I don't think he's self-deluding. I think there was a camera crew and he just didn't want to be the jerk. Also, there was another girl named Mia, and the guy that goes out on a date with her decides to go kayaking for a first date, which I found interesting as a choice when you're going out with someone in a wheelchair. But I'm leaning towards he probably just figures, you know what? I'm just going to go with this like I would any other date. I'm going to suggest what I would suggest, and you know what? She'll let me know if this is a problem. Who knows, maybe she can kayak, maybe she can't, but I won't know unless I let her make that decision. And I think that's a very important example, because often when you're in a wheelchair, people do edit situations for you. They decide where you can and can't go, what you're up to and what you're not up to. And that tends to cut you out of things that normally you didn't need to be cut out of in the first place. So I think that that's a very important example that this show is demonstrating. I think people do need to realize that it's up to that person with the disability what they can and can't do. It's okay to ask. I mean, it's totally okay to ask, but I think it's better to just make a suggestion and see what happens, and be prepared for maybe you guys can't do that and you're going to come up with a plan B. When it comes to the aspect of dating, there's something really nice when someone who's going to take you out on a date comes up with plans, because it tells you a lot about them and how they would think of things to do with you. How they want to have fun with you, and what kinds of things they want to have fun doing. And I think if they overly worry about, oh well, she's in a wheelchair and I don't know what she can do, maybe I should just ask her, maybe I should leave it up to her. Well, then you're cheating that relationship out of the fun of this guy coming up with stuff. I mean, that's one of the things women often like, is when the guy comes up with fun stuff to do, and vice versa. So I think it's important that no matter what the situation is, whether it's dating, friendship, whatever, that you just go into it talking to someone like they're normal. If you can't, and you are constantly focused on that they are in a wheelchair, or even that they're black, they're not your religion, whatever it is that's different than you, well, then maybe this is going to end up not being a compatible situation, because nobody wants to be in a situation where someone is constantly focused on what you represent, because it just means that you're uncomfortable with who this person is on the surface, and you're not actually trying to get to know them as a person. So I think that moment, as little as it is, demonstrates a whole lot, and I think that was very important. Another thing that happened with one of the other women is she has a new boyfriend, and he makes the comment that he only saw her, he didn't see the chair when he first met her. And the way he describes it, and where she was sitting, and how he leaned over, and okay, maybe it's possible. And he said, he just, in general, he sees her, not the chair. She debates him on, how can you not see the chair? And, and you can see she's a little bit bothered by that. Because when you're in a wheelchair, yes, people do give you a lot of false compliments. A lot of them are out of pity. A lot of them are trying to make you feel like they are comfortable with you. And people don't have to do that. My attitude on it is, anytime someone says something positive to you, that's really not a bad thing. I mean, it's better than them saying something ignorant and nasty. So you should go with it, and as you get to know them, if something is going to come of this, then that's when you can help mold what their language should be. Because unless you're talking to a clone of yourself, especially in this day and age of people being politically correct and overly sensitive, yeah, you do have to learn how to talk to one another and what's comfortable to the other person and for you. And you do have to help guide each other. And you're just also going to get a feel for the other person and what's working and what's not. So I think it's really important that if it's a compliment that really isn't a compliment, but the person intends for it to be, even though it's sort of not, just go with it very nicely and give it a chance to see, do you have compatibility in general, and is this worth working towards and helping each other to communicate in the way that's comfortable? And that's with this isn't even about disability, this is just in general. That's what you need to do, because otherwise you're cheating yourself out of possibly a great thing. Because, whenever we get to know people in the beginning, especially in a dating situation, nerves can get the best of you, and you can stick your foot in your mouth and say all the wrong things, and half the time that's what the problem is. One of the other girls in the show was also talking about internet dating, and should she mention the wheelchair up front or not. Well, in my experience, I started when I very first did internet dating, when internet dating was brand new. at first I didn't, because it seemed like this great opportunity for people to just first see me, and then by the second email I was definitely telling them if I felt like there was a click. The problem was there were those that didn't want to be involved because it wasn't their thing. Nobody was offended that I didn't say anything instantly because of how I handled it. I didn't wait too long. It was the second email at most. But I felt like I was wasting my time. And as much as I wanted them to get to know me as a person, I realized, you know what? If I'm putting up there already that I'm a single mother of 2 kids, then I should be putting up there that I'm in a wheelchair. Just like I'm putting up there that I have brown hair and blue eyes. You know, I am who I am. What comes with me comes with me. And if someone can't deal with that, then they're not going to want to get to know me. They're going to want to get to know what they want me to be, and that's not a healthy situation anyway. Who wants that? So I put it up there, and really the bigger problem I had was the fact that I was a single mother. People had more issue with that than they ever did with the wheelchair. So, the show was focusing on that a little bit. They really got into the insecurities that the women were going through. You could see a little bit of the anger over how people were being treated, how they were being stared at all the time, some of the comments that people just make as they're going by, or they'll take a picture. And I think those are things that are very, very important for this show to reveal to the world, that it's not easy to be disabled. It's not easy to be in a wheelchair. It's more than just a challenge with some steps. It's a challenge with the attitudes of all the people around you, and everyone has a different opinion about who you should be in the world, where you should be in the world. And without shows like this, and without people just going out and living their lives and not staying in the circle of disability, the world isn't going to change, and they're not going to learn anything new about a whole community of people that are out there who just want to be a part of the world and not segregated, so to speak. So I'm going to continue to watch this show. I'd love to hear feedback from you guys. If you have any questions about the world of disability, or comments about the show, or comments about anything, I'd love to hear them. So thanks a lot, and I will talk to you soon.